Adventures.
Hey guys, it's Chuke from Chuke's Outdoor Adventures. Well, I couldn't help doing a video on this. This story broke, about a month ago. A lot of my viewers, a lot of my friends sent me this story and asked what I thought about it. I think it's a great story. I think everyone involved was great guys. So what I'm talking about is the hunter that uses a handgun to finish off an angry, charging 1,000-pound Kodiak Brown Bear. Amazing story. Tice Erickson was the hunter. He's a dog trainer from down in the lower 48. I'll look for his social stuff. He has a social presence, and I really like the podcast too. I think it was the Backcountry Outdoor podcast. Let me see what it was called. Backcountry Hunting Podcast. Great story. I just finished the whole thing today, and I liked everything about the story. A lot of people wanted me to weigh in on the whole 10mm that was used, the pistol, because that's kind of my bread and butter. I do a lot of 10mm testing and reviews of 10mm. It's popular up here, and I love this story because the guide had the chest holster, had the 10mm, everything that I always talk about, that, and this is something we got from guides using these kind of Kydex chest holster ever since the early 2010s. My buddies and I started using these things because we saw guides use them in a 10mm semi-auto, and it's just nice because you keep it on your chest. You can go through rivers and it won't get wet, and also if you're falling back or being charged, you can quickly draw it. So this guy is a bow hunter, and I just loved the story. I loved all the firearms they were bringing. The guide had they weren't sure if it was a Ruger or an H&H, but he had a 375, which is typical. That's what I would expect an Alaska guide to carry in Kodiak and in any brown bear hunt, really. That's always, I've reviewed a couple and I plan to get one. If I ever get a Kodiak hunt, that's the rifle I'll bring, is probably a 375 H&H. I also like the Ruger. But what's interesting was the 10mm that he used, and we're going to talk about that, but also I love that he talked about the ammo. Now, we don't see 220 grain Underwood hardcast as much up here. I believe it is a thing, but the 200 grain is what we really look for. I know I've done testing of the 220 Buffalo Bore, but Chuck calls these the lipstick rounds. So this is the high-tech coated. They have this red coat on the hardcast, so it's safe to shoot out of Glock barrels and that kind of thing. And that is exactly what he described. He brought some Underwood ammo hardcast with the high-tech coat, and I just love it, and that's what he used. But the story was amazing. I think the guy is amazing. You know, he's a better hunter than I am. I don't want to diss those guys at all. A lot of people will rank on me and talk about what a idiot I am, but a lot of these keyboard warriors have never killed a brown bear themselves. I have killed brown bears. I did a video on, I turn my brown bears into cheeseburgers and eat them, as long as they're not eating fish, if they're an interior one. So a lot of those guys that diss me have never, killed a brown bear or harvested a brown bear. I have. So I'm an Alaskan hunter. And the guy admits that he made a mistake. He's a bow hunter, which I thought was really cool. And that would be my dream hunt, taking a Kodiak brown bear with, your bow. It doesn't get better than that unless you go to Africa or something. But still, I think this would top that. So that's the hunt of a lifetime. He wanted to take this brown bear with the bow. Came within 38 yards, but then it was just disappearing. He realized he wasn't going to get a shot with the bow, grabbed the rifle. I would have done the same thing, and he admits he messed the shot up just as it was kind of entering the alders. I love the description. He talked about the cottonwoods and the alders and just described the Alaskan coast here in south central Alaska perfectly. I was so excited listening to the whole podcast. Wonderful story. But he took a shot just as it was entering the alders, the bushes. They're smaller trees. They're not big trees. They're kind of like a big bush. And he heard it thrashing around. Pretty sure he shot it, but he wasn't too sure about the shot. I don't think anybody could blame him for that. I would have done the same thing. Probably the biggest bull caribou was this massive bull caribou. I shot him after I stalked him. I watched him go down under these trees bushes just like this, and there was nobody around. I could still see his antlers, and I shot just, you know, where his body would be under the antlers, and he crumpled. A lot of people will just be, oh, I can't believe you did that. That's so unethical. There was nobody out there. I was bushwhacking. This was a non-ATV trail. No other hunters around, and I sat there and watched this massive bull caribou go down, and I shot in the trees. He crumpled, one shot, and then I went and got him. But anyways, so I can't blame him for doing that shot. And then the story was just nerve-wracking because they followed this blood trail, and they realized that, oh man, this, you know, it may not have been a heart shot. The bear went on for 2 miles, and they're in Kodiak, and I would have done the same thing. The guy just said, you know, this is my one shot. You know, you wound a bear, that's your tag. You don't get to take another one. I'm getting this bear. So they went after him. And anyways, the story is really exciting. I encourage you to listen to the podcast and the whole story. But anyways, the bear kept them downwind at all times, so he could smell them, or upwind, whichever one. Anyways, and finally, just to break it down, the bear charged. The guide got a shot at him with the rifle, kind of fell back, took another shot from the hip, and this bear was wounded, 1,000-pound bear, kind of. This hunter, Tice, he realized that this bear was going to get the guide, so he came up with his M&P 2.0 10mm, the M&P 10 from Smith and Wesson, and he had those Underwood rounds, and he just took 3 shots and took that bear out, and that's what stopped the bear from eating the guide. And then the bear fell down, and it was a tough bear. They still had to shoot him one more time with the rifle because when they poked him, he kind of roared and moved his head. But anyways, just a nerve-wracking story. I thought it was great, but everybody keeps, you know, telling me, look what pistol he used, the Smith and Wesson M&P 10. I've done several videos on this, and I don't usually recommend it. My favorite is, of course, the Glock 20, the FN 510 Tactical, the SIG X10, and I'm kind of leaning towards this XDM Elite 4.5 10mm, kind of my favorite thing right now. But I never really recommend the Smith & Wesson M&P 10, but I do say that it's got some of the best features of any 10mm I've ever felt. That trigger with the blade on it, the grip on the handle, the grip angle, the trigger, how thin it is. It feels like you're holding a 9mm. I don't see how they built the frame like that. I just loved everything about that pistol, but we just had so many problems. I owned one, it was jamming, but the big story is Frank the Tank. He had one that would not stop malfunctioning, wouldn't stop jamming. He replaced springs on it, he replaced everything he could, extractors, everything. It still would not work. He sent it back to Smith & Wesson 2 different times, and it came back, and it still would not work. We went out once, and we got it to work, and then mine was jamming, my Smith & Wesson M&P. He was all excited, but then he went back out the next time, and it just started malfunctioning again, and he said, to heck with it. He, you know, I don't know what he did with it, but he picked up a couple SIG X10s, and he's never looked back. He loves the grip angle. They've been 100% for him. So a lot of people will, you know, disparage my videos and say, oh, yeah, that, you know, well, mine is fine. And I admit that some of them are great, but for whatever reason, it seems like a high percentage of people have problems. And you'll see even on the comments on this video, comment after comment of, you know, mine does the same thing. The mag drops out. There was a documented video of that. I featured a video on that, the mag dropping out. I didn't have that problem, but just the jamming and the stove piping and malfunctions, and tons of people commented on it to the point where I couldn't ignore it. So I just think that they need to work out some bugs if they put out a second version. I think that Performance Center is a better one. My buddy got one of those. He loves it. I took it out, and you know, we had one jam with it, but you know, it was brand new. It was pretty new. And after that, we didn't have any problems. I think that the Performance Centers are pretty solid. That's what I would get, and I probably still will. But I'm hoping a Gen 2 of these 10mm come out. But I'm glad that he had it, and he said that he shot it before. It's been reliable. It went bang when he pulled the trigger out there when his life was depending on it, and it got the job done. So I'm glad he had it. I'm glad he had a good one. I just think that there have been more problems with that specific model than other ones. I love Smith and Wesson, the 686 7-shot 357 revolver. I've always said is my most prized firearm. If I had to get rid of all of them, that is the one I would keep because I simply love that pistol. So I'm a big Smith and Wesson fan. In fact, next week I'm getting their new M&P comp. Their 9mm are just solid, just as reliable as Glocks, I feel. One of the training guys, I go to his trainings, he carries an M&P 9. So love the brand. I just think that there's some bugs to work out of their 10mm, but I'm glad that this guy had a good one and it worked out for him, and it's a wonderful story. I encourage you to check it out. So let me know what you guys think of this video, of the whole story, and what you think of the M&P 10. Had a good ending. I'm glad no one got hurt, and I think all the guys involved are great guys. So thanks for tuning in. I'll have another video up in the morning. It's Chuke, your friend in the field.
My name is Chuke. I like to trade my guns just for fun, but now I have none. Oh, no, get shot by a bear, but I don't care. I got a 10mm. Chuke's Outdoor Adventures. Watch you all die every time, guaranteed.